Hello, Frog here. Game in the background is Tainted Grail, Fall of Avalon, a fantastic RPG that's some of the most fun I've had with the genre in the last few years. We'll get to the quickfire review soon, but today I'm talking about what you want, or specifically figuring out what you want, also known as purpose. What you want to do in life is pretty much the keystone behind developing a fulfilling and happy life, and while talking about the method behind finding these things is pretty simple, the actual act of finding out what you want is not, because it probably comes with a lot of baggage or honest self-reflection that may break a bunch of proverbial eggs in your life. Purpose is essentially your reason for being here on Earth. It is a driver for most of your actions if the goal is clear and gives you a sense of direction. Without this driver, you tend to feel rudderless and lost at sea, slowly stagnating as the fog of the ocean takes you into its apathetic depths. Apathy is the result of stagnation, and it is, in my opinion, the worst of all emotions one can have in them. When you become indifferent towards life, you remain alive but cease to live. Avoid it as if your life depended on it. In fact, I believe that the majority of people in today's modern world don't suffer from depression, but apathy. Depression is a more clinical state that usually requires some kind of medical intervention, although it depends on its severity. Apathy, on the other hand, is a deathly stillness that tends to tangle itself a little with depression, but is distinctly different. A pretty easy way to figure out which one you feel is, do you not give a shit about anything, but go through the motions anyway, despite the sensation that it kinda sucks? It's usually apathy. When you're depressed, you don't even get out of bed, or rather it's a monumental effort to do so. That's the difference. So purpose, or doing what you want, is the answer to apathy, but if so many people around the world are stuck in a state of stagnation, that would mean that figuring out what you want is incredibly difficult. Well, yes, but also no. It's a bit complicated. Ask yourself what you want in the immediate short term, then ask what you want in the next 5 to 10 years. Think about the things that came up, but specifically, think about where you got those ideas. Are those ideas and aspirations yours? This is the first crucial step, and this is the emptying of the basket. The reality is that what we want is often dictated by what society and people around us want, not necessarily what we as individuals truly desire. A lot of people start careers because it was the optimal solution or provided the most money, which, to be fair, is an efficient strategy if it is a means to a specific end that you defined. For example, make tons of bank and fuck off to some island to relax. But they didn't consciously decide on those things based on what they really care about. It's the same as marriage. People get married because that's what people do when they become adults, right? Well, it's all marketing. None of that is necessary to live a life that is fulfilling. It's an image planted into your head since you were young by advertisements all over the damn place to fund an industry that has, a 60% divorce rate in the West? I don't intend to shit on marriage, though. Get married if you actually want to. And assuming you find someone who's worth marrying. But you have to make that decision for yourself and omit other people's opinions on the matter. I have actually done this, and it's a very conscious choice of mine. This leads to an important point, which is owning your choices too. If you choose things based on a checklist of what the world or society wants from you, you do not truly own that choice. So if it's a mistake, then you're going to be a bitter, cynical son of a bitch for the rest of your life. Why? Because you chose to follow someone else's dream despite, on some level, knowing it wasn't yours. This is why the grifter culture of tards is a dangerous game for people. They're selling you a product but under the guise that it's the answer to all your problems. It's bullshit. Avoid it. Don't even trust me, for fuck's sake. Verify it all on your own. Anyway, if you own your choices, you can stand it if it's a wrong turn, because you made that choice and gave it a shot. People make mistakes, and it's how they figure out what they want in their life. And now we come full circle to purpose and figuring out what you want. That's how you do it, by giving shit a go and seeing what happens. What you want isn't something that comes to you through a divine wind. It is not some external force that arrives suddenly. It is discovered through conscious action in the world, guided by an action plan you develop, built off things that give you energy. What do I mean by that? I'm not talking about spirituality here, though you could see it that way if you are spiritually inclined. I'm talking about the things that get you fired up in some way when you do them. For example, there are things I do in my current life which basically switch my brain off and make me feel kinda dead inside. They're necessary things at this point in time, but my energy is sapped by it and wants to go a different direction. That said, there are things, like writing and some social issues, that fire me up and give me tons of energy. I actually notice my body temperature rise and my mind fully engage when I do these things. Some people assume this might be COVID, but it is not. Pay attention to your mind and body, and notice where it feels most drawn to. And I'm not talking about your balls here. Sexuality is a very different thing, so get the horny out of here for a second. This isn't about other people or a biological drive, but about what is fueling your mind. Those things are the path that make most sense to go with and are worth planning around. Maybe they aren't exactly what you want, but they contain an element of what makes your brain tick the most, so it's worth examining and trying out. Again, I say trying out, because only thinking about these things is not going to get you anywhere. It is frequently apparent that people like to think things through and feel satisfied about their conclusions while simultaneously doing absolutely fuck all outside of that. That is a bullshit justification that your brain is doing, and it will not lead to fulfillment. You need to do things. So, where am I going with this? Right, purpose, what you want. Make 2 lists here. What you don't want, and then what you want. What you don't want is a lot easier, because it's quite easy to get a feel for what takes away from your energy, but you have to be honest, because some things are things we don't want to admit, like a bad relationship, friendships, family, etc. Let the stream of consciousness flow. After that, what do you want? Think about what gives you energy, and think about what you want your life to be like in the next few years. What kind of lifestyle is it? Where? After that, what kind of people do you want around you? Another way to do this is to also invert it. Try to imagine where you want to be in the next 10 years and go backwards from that future outcome. What were the steps that led you there? Now, notice all the questions I'm asking here too. It's only about you. What do I want? Where do I want to be? What kind of people make me happy? Etc. The questions should always begin with yourself. It is enlightened self-interest. Never ask a question like, what does blah blah want? It doesn't matter. Be honest about what you want, figure the rest out later with the answers that come. Take some time on this, then make an action plan on getting the things you want. Starting small, then building to eventually larger things. As I mentioned in my video on focusing, you need to build momentum to get to where you want to be, and you have to decide to be the kind of person that can get these things done. Adding to this, make sure your wants are not random container words or platitudes that sound good but have no real meaning. I mean things like, I want to be an integrated man. What the fuck is integrated? What? Man? Integrated? What the fuck? That sounds cool in a movie, but it's stupid in the real world because there's no concrete understanding. Be specific and clear about your wants. I want to get in better shape is better. It's not clear, but you can build from it. Better shape how? A six-pack? Bigger shoulders? By when? I want to lose 5 kilos and bench 100 kilos by year's end is even better. There are specific desired outcomes and some kind of a time frame. Now you have a clearer idea of what you want because it's specific. From there, build the routine. What you want can be anything ranging from the short term to the very long. Maybe you want to achieve financial freedom and live on a farm in the next 10 years. Maybe you want to live in some East Asian country and play the dating game there for a few years living off coconuts. I don't know, it's your goal, I don't give a shit. Do what you want, but have a clear vision and make a plan. Once you start moving in the direction you want, you then pivot depending on successes and mistakes. Mistakes are teaching you more nuanced lessons about what you don't really want, and successes pivot you in the direction of what you want. Then you just keep going and adjust as you go. Your wants are also not permanent. They are almost guaranteed to change over time. This is the eternal state of the human condition, to seek things out. Everything loses its luster eventually, and you can choose to pivot when that happens or not. Just make a plan. There's nothing else beyond this, because this is how your purpose is found, by being built and developed. You don't need to figure it all out now, you just need to pick a direction and move. That's where purpose lives, in movement, in mistakes, in trying. Be the one who takes the wheel, and it sure as fuck beats apathy. Anyway, onto the review of Tainted Grail, which is a pretty quick one. It's a game I've been looking forward to playing for quite a long time, since first going through the card battler a few years back, Tainted Grail. I rarely play through card battler games for very long because cards don't really do much for me. but Tainted Grail's gritty and brutal art combined with a weird world full of Arthurian legends carried me forward, and the gameplay was actually really, really good. Now that the RPG is out, I'm pretty chuffed to say that it's fucking awesome, and I haven't had this much fun with an RPG for a few years now, last being, I believe, Baldur's Gate 3. Though Larian is a special developer that has released banger after banger for about 2 decades now, so it was no surprise BG3 would be an absolute winner. Side note, go play Divinity 2 Director's Cut. This is not Original Sin 2, this is Divinity 2 Director's Cut, very specific. You can find it on GOG, it is fucking awesome, albeit a bit janky nowadays. Anyway, Fall of Avalon is an Elder Scrolls style RPG where you build a character however you want as you progress through the game, and they get better at things by doing those things. If you use a lot of bows, you will slowly increase your bow skills as you use them so they hit harder and draw faster. It's a nice system that for some dumb reason not many games actually apply, despite it being around since what, fucking Morrowind? That's like 22 years now, so what the fuck? Much like the main topic of today, which is figuring out what you want, Tainted Grail is all about building a character the way you want, and trying a bunch of stuff out to see what sticks. I'm currently running a dual-wield character because I have fantasies about being an agile Dark Elder-style blade-spinning warrior, as dexterity stuff has always got my blood going for some fucking reason. The game does combat very, very well. It is meaty, it hits hard, and things get notably ragdolled around the screen in a very satisfying fashion. No cartwheeling corpses flying around, unfortunately, similar to the original Half-Life 2, but it is still wonderful and occasionally in slow motion too. I haven't finished the game yet, I'm only on Act 2 and I just finished the main story in Act 2, but so far the story has been very interesting and unsurprisingly rather dark and fucking oppressive. The world in fact is oppressive as hell. Corpses strung up around places, Nightfall bringing the weirdness which morphs shit into stronger, weirder monstrosities that also provide greater rewards too, so it's a nice risk-reward system going there. Bandits and monsters all over the fucking place. Avalon is a shithole, but it's a beautiful shithole, and the artists behind it absolutely deserve a promotion of some kind because god fucking damn it looks good. This game is a great example of how passionate art and music can elevate the product to a much higher level despite its technical constraints and budget. Grail is made by a bunch of Polish guys, and it has nowhere close to the budgetary capability of something like Elder Scrolls, but it looks and sounds goddamned incredible because everything is intentional in its design. The music is thematically suited to the oppressive atmosphere, and the visuals are striking, organically flowing through the world in such a way that few games pull off. There is this incredible beauty that permeates through Avalon time to time, mixed with this heavy, violent appearance where decay has taken root. It's really, really nice, and I'm very happy with it. Definitely a world I want to continue to invest in, though not a world I would actually want to live in, because fuck that. I can talk a lot more about how great this game is, but really I just want to get back to playing it, and I did say quickfire after all. I do highly recommend it. It's not some stupid, insane price like Nintendo games are, so it's reasonable for all budgets, and it generally runs well on mid-range hardware with some optimizing, mid-range being an RTX 2060 and a Ryzen 5 5600X. That's my system. Some people like to say a 4080 or something is mid-range, but the prices on those are fucking ridiculous. I'm a lot more minimalist than that, and at 1080p gaming this runs fine on a 2000 series cards and upwards. Anyway, give it a buy. I recommend GOG because it's DRM free, but Steam is of course a nice place to buy too, and for some people currency conversion on GOG can be pretty nasty because it's all in USD. Anyway, goodbye.